It's Jay, Louie, and our special guest, Averick. Very special guest.
Hello.
Very, very dear friend of the podcast.
Glad to be on. I've seen it happening a number of times, but just never had the, right time.
I never had the audacity to sit here with us. Right?
Yeah, I mean we're still early on in our episodes here,
True.
So, we're bringing you in,
Which I think for this one is a perfect one for like our group. I feel like anyone in our friend group could talk about said subject, about just video games as a overall.
Yeah, I mean I think we have a good in kind of here. I mean we have a broader just kind of topic to talk about our gaming experiences, and kind of introduce you as a guest, cover it in an episode. Yeah, I mean we're kind of talking about gameplay loops, also like what kind of like feedback you like from games, and roguelikes in general, and all sorts of games, because every game has a different type of feedback loop going on in it.
Yeah, the things that keep you enticed into a game or a singular story, I suppose.
Yeah.
And, also the types of rewards that keep you coming back to a game. I feel like even subliminally, everyone's playing something for an experience, even if it's like someone who's never played a game but got a fucking Wii and just plays Animal Crossing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're getting the reward of like peace and serenity and kind of just chilling.
And even Animal Crossing, as simplistic as it is, it has a gameplay loop. It's very enticing because it is very simple, and that's like people do very well with games that give them a simple task, similar to Terraria as well, but they are in a sandbox world as well. So
Animal Crossing is such an interesting one because, like, especially if you take like Animal Crossing on GameCube as like a blueprint for what mobile games end up doing, because they're like, oh, you should come back every day and play like for like a small amount of time, right? And just invest time in it over a longer period. There's actually like some reward to the investment, I feel like, in a game like Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I suppose that's actually a good place to start.
But Farmville or whatever.
Yeah,
what are those?
It's that
games?
time investment gameplay feedback that people get that fat dopamine hit off of.
Yeah.
Like even in modern gaming, I say that it's a lot more prevalent. So for example, there's an MMO I was playing last year, Lost Ark, and it pretty much just incentivizes you to get like your login daily rewards. Do your dailies, like you get 2 dailies, and that's like pretty much the gameplay loop is that you go in, you get your little bag of crystals, and you're like, whoo, baby, I'm feeling it. Maybe I can succeed on my percentile based hones to increase my equipment.
Yeah.
And then if that doesn't work out, then you go, oh, all right, well, it's time to run my fucking dailies, and then you do the same quest fundamentally over and over again, hunting different monsters and doing. I say different raids with air quotes because they are the same with added mechanics.
It's essentially like, a game that has like the engine requirements of like Roller Coaster Tycoon, right? But like something that like any phone could run pretty reliably. But they've just then, installed so many steps in between every step of gameplay, right?
Yeah. And it creates like artificial progression.
Yeah, all this wait time and like fake rewards and buzz to get you going. I don't know. It's mobile. I didn't even think we would get into mobile games necessarily, but I
mean they're
kind of like that crazy end of the spectrum.
Yeah, they're representative of the predatory version of gameplay loops, like the mobile Diablo. So there's an instance where you can pay for power effectively, like pay for dungeon resets, go in, rerun dungeons over and over again. But it also had PvP that wasn't scaled, like it wasn't equalized. So the most powerful person could go into a battlefield and rack up like 50 plus kills. And that's what gets people going. They want to feel like I'm beating the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Eat the dirt, idiot.
Yep.
Face in the ground.
So there's got to be 50 other people either eating the dirt or half of those people are actually bots and you don't realize it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I even read the other day that I think it was Apex Legends. Sometimes the algorithm in Apex will place you in games mostly composed of bots and other lower skill level players than you.
Wow.
So you can get like an artificial win. Pretty much. And you're like,
Yes,
I could do it. I could get the diamond. And really, you're bronze 5, and it'd take like 300 plus games to get up there for you.
Well, if we're talking about a competitive game that gives you a rush when you win and can keep you coming back for years on end, while also clarifying that you hate said game, it has to be League of Legends. I mean, we just have to get it out there. I know, Louis, you haven't played League of Legends. You probably are familiar with it.
Yeah.
But it is probably the most toxic relationship you can have with a game, especially if you're like our era of playing, which we've played almost now for, well, not anymore, but almost a decade, right under.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that reputation's what's kept me from
Away-
playing the game. Yeah,
from
everyone's
it?
like, "Oh, it's so toxic, don't play it." And I'm like, "Okay, cool."
Anybody watching this, you should actually play League of Legends. Highly recommend.
And anyone who plays League of Legends, you need to stop as well.
No, keep playing.
That's a PSA. Just get out while you
Don't
can.
ever give up on the grind. The grind is what keeps you alive.
I spent over $1,000 on a free-to-play game.
Yep.
Oh god.
On a free-to-play game.
It wasn't predatory though.
Well,
It's just for
we've
drip.
all had the games that we spent too much money
It's
on.
drip.
you
I
know?
even
So
gave
fun,
Halo
though.
Infinite money for drip.
I actually, you said Apex. I'm like, I paid a lot for like some of the cosmetics.
Oh, yeah.
there, 'cause
Skins,
I played that
yeah.
game for like a long time, and so I'd be like, every once in a while, I'll be like, yeah, I'll throw in a couple extra bucks, like
Sure.
because it feels like you're spending that money on the game that you've played that many hours
Yeah,
on. So you're
especially
like,
buying
alright, it's
skins for like
there's some
characters.
value.
Yeah, and especially buying skins for characters that like you actively play. It feels like a reward in itself.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you're like,
But-
oh, I'm hella good on this champion. I deserve some
But
skins.
every time that you're 2 years out from having that game, like out of your rotation,
Mhm.
you're like, oh yeah, what did I spend all that money on again? Like,
See, I kind
when
of
you
feel
look
that,
back, you're
but
like, what was that for?
it is also sometimes I log into League just randomly. I go immediately to the store, and if there's any new
No.
skins for any characters
No.
that I play, I buy it immediately, and then I play a single game, and I go, nice,
That-
all in a
yeah,
day's
that's
work.
it.
then I close the
it.
game, exit, and don't play for like 6 more months.
Fuck.
It's
they
a
need-
drip.
they
The
need my
drip is
help.
worth it.
No,
Listen,
they don't
Eternal.
need your help.
I love Riot.
They have Valorant now.
I fucking love them. Valorant sucks. I'm not playing that shit.
Yeah, well, people will.
Yeah,
They're gonna
but
dump
still,
into that. And
fucking-
if we're talking about like in-game cosmetics too, the game that really did it right was like earlier Call of Duties. Like you get rewards from using
Oh,
said
from
weapons
grinding.
and doing certain
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah. The
And it
camos,
was
the
the
camo
blue-
skins were fun.
the blue
because
tiger camo.
That was a gameplay loop about. So the Call of Duties, had two things going on. They had prestiging.
Mhm.
So in multiplayer, you would level up your character, and then when you hit the max level, you could reset
Of course.
and then run through all those ranks again and unlock
Mhm.
everything again, and get to 8th, 10th prestige.
you get a cool little
etc.
emblem and shit.
Right, and it was just like everyone was like going through the grind for the emblem, and then the mini game was essentially, you would unlock a weapon, you would need to burn through the different camos with
Right.
that weapon to get XP, rinse and repeat. But
Mhm.
Right.
yeah, that was a great way to have progression for your character, even though like it didn't affect anyone else, and that's exactly the type of thing that they just realized they could put behind a paywall though.
Yep.
And like the new Call
Eventually,
of Duties,
yeah.
like have totally copied the Fortnite model
Sure.
of doing the battle pass, with loot drops and crates and all that.
Mhm.
Correct.
Because that's what Activision wanted and Blizzard wanted.
I mean,
Right.
you just make so much more money, and with the respective to the skins, they're not like how they used to be. They're way more extravagant and like bright, crazy colors or like nods to pop culture. They're not like just like a cool looking thing. That's what they were doing back then. But hey, I digress.
Yeah,
you can make a
new skins
case.
are
of it.
really out of pocket.
They're just
Like,
crazy.
yeah.
Like when that's
they're
because
not-
they want you
they're
to
not
buy
good.
it.
Like-
oh my god, I'm shooting a gun, but it's really a plunger that shoots shitty out of it.
they're like it's a skull, man. Isn't it cool?
Yeah, but hey,
Skull gun.
I can't hate on it. Like
I
when
mean,
I was
I
playing
don't
Call of
play
Duty,
Call of Duty,
I was infatuated.
But I think the thing about battle passes and cosmetics is that typically there's always a way to get them without paying, and it just requires you to be good. Most times.
Not always.
Not always, but most times. Like CSGO, for example. CS:GO, you can win skins just by playing matches, and
I
those
think you win
skins,
boxes, right?
yeah,
And then roll
and there's
for
a
it.
RNG based chance, but those skins can actually make you money. So
It's true.
there's a pro and a con to having these systems where their cosmetics or things gated behind things because it creates rarity. So all games are effectively a business. So they need an economy that they can actually monetize and off of. Otherwise, we wouldn't have good games.
True.
Now that being also, I just have to piggyback off the fact
Uh,
it takes a lot of money to make a good game.
I mean, yes, I agree. Like, does Bethesda need to create a horse armor so that they can spend 8 years making a game?
Well, that was
like-
primarily because Oblivion has spaghetti code. One,
I'm just saying like there's cases where it's like the company's making money off of cosmetics, like Epic makes so much fucking money off of Fortnite, and they don't spend that money on the dev team and resources. Like, I mean, they actually put a lot in because they have releases come out every week, but most of the money doesn't go to that. And I think like as far as like big corporations getting into gaming, like it's pretty bad usually. Like EA,
well, that's
like mobile games,
So
right?
that's what I
Like
was
like
gonna-
all the money they make, like you man, I
But that-
used to play what was it, Marvel Puzzle Quest?
mm-hmm.
That was like one of my like mobile games, like when I was like going through the ringer of like different games. It was basically like a Bejeweled
Right.
rip off,
Right.
but like that, I feel like the actual game engine hadn't been updated in like the 5 years that I played that game or
Yeah.
whatever. Like
Yeah.
it and came back to it and checked it on it again. Even though like I know there was like an active community of people who were like subscribed to their $20 a month like plan, or like buying coins head over fist. Like
Right.
and you're just like, where does this money go? Like
Yeah.
because
Yeah, just right there in the fucking pocket.
right into the like the
Yeah.
it
Well, yeah.
it doesn't
Well,
go
that's-
like it's
That's
it's,
just because it's two upending like sides of the spectrum of game development, right? So there's obviously corporations nowadays who want to profit and acquire game studios to do their bidding,
right.
because they're their boss. Bethesda doesn't have a boss. Xbox is their boss.
Well, yeah,
But they don't have-
now
they
they're
don't-
different.
They don't have like
they-
corporate
They
investors.
haven't put out a game under Microsoft
Mhm.
proper, so how the company itself will deal with
'Cause
DLC in the future
think
remains to be seen.
The horse armor is fair, but we got 2 full game sized DLCs that same like in
yeah, no,
lifespan.
they're usually pretty solid on their deals.
So I think
like the Fallout.
Yeah, my
DLCs
main
are
point
pretty
is not
good.
to shoot down what you're saying, because I agree to an extent. There are companies that are like that, meaning EA. I hate EA,
Yeah,
and
or
that's
Activision.
and they're ruining games like Dragon Age because of greed and corporatism.
Right.
But on the opposite end of the spectrum, this is why people have major faith in companies like Bethesda, like Studio Mad Dog. Is that it?
What do they do?
Oh, with the paw.
Uncharted.
Oh, Naughty Dog.
Naughty
Naughty
Dog.
Dog,
Naughty
yeah.
Dog. Sorry.
Naughty Dog.
Like
Studio
there are still companies that have integrity. They aren't gonna. And when you're
Yeah, well,
and then when you're
but-
going into
but-
the mobile sphere, you know what you're getting into.
But like Naughty Dog is a case where Naughty Dog doesn't have DLC. Like I mean, they have expansions and stuff like that, but they don't have like micro transactions in their games. And they're funded by Sony. They are a I forget what it's called, first person company or something. But like they're basically they're owned by Sony, right? So they can't break away from them. But in turn, Sony has to fund any of their games.
right.
And it's the same thing with I think Sucker Punch is the name of the company. Just put it on there, man. It's gonna be less
Just
noise.
hitting that.
Yeah. But Sucker Punch is another one of those studios who I think they made Infamous, and they made the guys who made the Spider-Man game and God of War, which is Santa Monica. There's like 4 or 5 companies that Sony owns,
Right.
essentially, or and they fund all of the games that come out from those companies, and that's what gives them like a backlog of games that people want to come to. It's the same thing with Nintendo. Like they develop their own great games and create an ecosystem that people want to buy into.
Right.
It's not necessarily all of Nintendo is supported by Nintendo, right? When you buy the hardware, when you buy any of the software, it doesn't have to all be one thing. So they can burn money on, like a shittier Kirby game that doesn't sell well, and then they can still make another Kirby game for the Switch that does do well, right? Because the company has the resources to take that hit.
Yeah.
And I don't know, when you're just focused on like squeezing money out of players and in like every little instance of a game, you're just cutting yourself off from like inviting people into the world of your stuff,
Yeah.
like and having people willing to spend the money and take the plunge.
I don't really think a lot of people have a choice is the issue. Like there are predators out there, but it is very expensive to make a game. So it's like primary sales aren't going to do it anymore.
And I get the trade-off of like Fortnite, where it's a free game to start with, and so they're like this.
Well, especially when the entire model.
Right, and so like to keep the cosmetics entirely, or the paid stuff entirely cosmetic, it is a great move, because it you can still play with the default skin and be the best player theoretically, right?
I think actually this is a more recent example in a game, that Dark and Darker game that I was telling you about, the extraction-based game where you're playing D&D-based classes, and you go into a procedurally generated dungeon. You have to avoid groups of other players and the PvE enemies that exist, right? So their take on this is they don't want battle passes. They don't want loot boxes. In fact, this game idea came from Nexon, which is a Korean gaming company. They thought that they said, how can we extract more money out of players? And then they said, we can't really find a feasible way, so they shelved the game. One of the guys that was in that meeting that day, or that year, quit the company, started his own company, and took that idea and made it a reality, and took out the necessity for the how can we extract money from players model.
Just made the actual game.
And made the game, which is awesome. I love this game, like from what I've played so far. But how they did the cosmetics is it's all based on skill. So there's skins that you can achieve in the game, like an elf skin or a skeleton skin. It's all based off this currency that you can only get by extracting or killing people in the game. And then it gives you, all that you get from it is the cosmetic, and then it gives you +1 to a certain stat. I don't think that's necessarily unfair, and I think that's like pretty, that's like the model that I would,
way to go.
yeah, that's the model I would hope. Now, keep in mind, this is a multiplayer competitive game, so there's certain things that don't apply to something like Starfield, for example. And I wouldn't really expect to see microtransactions or aggressive marketing in a single-player RPG. But it's typically where other people are involved in the sphere of gaming. The game that you're playing in is when the money comes in because the competition is there.
A blend of what you guys were talking about with like microtransactions and earnable content through like different avenues is a Hunt Showdown. Very similar gameplay as in Darker and Darker. You do progression and you like end the game, and you're also in a survival setting against other players. You can choose to extract or complete the mission, and in the Hunt Showdown, you collect these clues around the map. Once you get the clues, you go to the part of the map where the monster is. If you kill the monster, it alerts the whole entire game. Oh, damn it. You're good.
Doggo's on the set.
Let's wait for it to stop. Yeah. But yeah, once you kill the monster, it alerts the whole entire map that every player can come to you. So there could be squads of 1, 2, and 3, and you can play as whatever you want. But you can just leave. You don't have to kill the monster. You can just kill a couple of zombies and head out. But if your character lives, it levels up independently. It gains traits, and you can buy higher level hunters that have like better weapons, and you can like smuggle weapons out of the game. Like if you kill someone with a high level weapon, you can take it, and it becomes contraband outside the game, and you can just keep leveling your character. But also, there is like real world money you can spend on like unique looking weapons and unique skins that have like cool cosmetics, but it doesn't alter the game as far as like gameplay and like being overpowered. Like the weapon's not gonna one shot people. But
Yeah,
it's interesting because you can get rewarded in different ways, in different play styles.
Are you saying you have to buy a character though to play?
Well,
Yes,
with
but it's
in-game
in-game
currency.
in-game
Right, right,
currency.
right. And so you can sell the weapons and everything else with this currency too.
No,
Gain it or
you,
no?
You can sell certain things.
no, you can't sell things, I don't believe, but you gain it by living in said games. But there's always a free character though in your roster of shuffle.
I see.
And you can reshuffle to like tier 3, tier 2, and tier 1. Also, it's a beautiful game too. If anyone wants to go buy it, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Hunt and Dark are very similar. I forgot to mention the characters you do have level up as well. But like same with Hunt Showdown, when you die, you pretty much have to restart from level 1.
Yeah,
all over
from
again.
scratch. So it's more permadeath and like, but you can have like a couple characters that have survived, which
There's that gameplay loop in itself. Is that
Right.
the fear of losing everything that you've grinded for,
Yep.
and then the anger. Like it's like the phases of guilt and acceptance. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It's like
Yeah, denial.
It's like fuck it,
But
fuck it,
it's why you play,
dude.
right?
And that's the thrill in it.
I think it's a good segue into something I want to get into, which I just have it kind of pulled up here. It's so basically there's this philosophical essay by Albert Camus or Camus, right? Who it's called The Myth of Sisyphus.
Mm-hmm.
And Sisyphus was the guy who tried to escape hell or Hades, and he succeeded. He got back onto Earth, but then he died a second time because no one escapes death.
Mm-hmm.
right.
And his punishment was to roll a boulder up a hill for eternity, essentially having it crushed back on him. But like what this poem kind of sets up is is what Camus talks about as the philosophy of the absurd, and so it's essentially the great contradiction of life. That is like, in a world where we get no feedback, there's only silence from that anything outside of our planet and our own world. We have to like create value like within our own
What we have presented to
exactly
us,
with our own perception, and it's essentially like it's essentially rejecting the loneliness of the world and saying fuck that, I'm gonna create a meaning,
Right.
and it's like you have to accept that as an idea, and so like he essentially lays that out, and then he gets into the myth of Sisyphus at the end, and his whole point is that you have to see Sisyphus rolling a boulder up a hill as a good thing, as like a happy existence, because he knows his place in the universe. He has a goal to like work towards, and even though he'll never like fully achieve it, that's enough.
Yeah,
to keep
there's
him
more
satisfied.
certainty in the knowingness that my purpose is to roll this boulder than to not be aware of your own purpose at all.
Yeah.
To not have it in front of you.
Yeah.
And that for me is like, I mean that's like part of my fundamental belief in just like everything I do, but also like it's part of like what I view in gaming, because it's something that's been presented to me, especially when I played roguelikes, where it's like even if you beat the game, it's the win state is very temporary, and if you want to play the game again, you start over from nothing. And each gameplay is like usually procedurally generated to some point,
Has some sort of twist on it.
has some type of twist and is different from the other one, but is essentially the same thing that you've done before. And it's like it's just like it's a great metaphor for that too. I mean, and the game Hades actually does get into this a little bit pretty well, because they have a Sisyphus character, and he's just like a happy-go-lucky guy, and he's like trying to like push his philosophy on you a little bit,
Right.
but he's not like citing this poem or anything like that, being like, go read this guy, like, but it's a nice modern like retelling and a nice accessible way into that philosophy.
Yeah, they nod to the philosophy,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
They're building on it.
he's come full circle. He's like happy, which is kind of an interesting concept. But with roguelikes too, like there's also so many things that you can get out of a roguelike. roguelite or roguelite. I guess there's two different things, but
Yeah.
but they're like insequential.
Same diff.
But you haven't played Risk of Rain 2, which is very, very interesting. So when we played Risk of Rain 2, it like most of those style of games, they're pretty difficult during the start. It's not an easy game just to jump into. There usually is quite the learning curve with how to be strong, you know? Also, there's just RNG with typically items and stuff and certain things that you pick up. But once you really start to understand Risk of Rain, and other games like The Binding of Isaac, which I've been on a binging spree.
Love Binding of Isaac.
Yeah, I've been on a binging spree like
Been
crazy.
playing it for a decade, man.
I wonder what's the last one you've played?
The last what?
The last Binding of Isaac you played.
I think I played it in the last 2 years. I picked it up and
newest
just
one?
threw a little bit of it. No, I don't know which one I have on my computer. It's one of the Rebirths or something, or Afterlife, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Well, that game's interesting in my point of view is because you start off and the main boss to beat first is your own mom.
right.
And after you beat your own mom, you're like, fuck yeah, I did it. And then you'll unlock a new character for a variety of reasons, play new characters. But once you beat mom, then you go back into the game and you beat mom, and then another door opens up. You're like, wait, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to the womb, and then you fight mom's heart. Once you kill mom's heart, then you unlock further and further. So even though you beat the game in that way, things start to build. But
yeah,
also
there's different win states and different
and in
gameplay loops for you to go through.
which is a lot of fun. But also in the Binding of Isaac, there's just items that were straight up just bad. So they'll intentionally leave broken, shitty items in the game. So it's just a troll engine.
Yes.
You get 6 range ups. What the fuck am I gonna do with 6 range ups?
Yeah.
I have 2 HP and base damage, but then there's like 2 items or 2 or 3, 5 items that will just straight up you'll win the run. But you can also die at any time.
It's similar to Risk of Rain.
Yeah, but Risk of Rain doesn't have a troll
It is
engine.
fun in that way too, that like there's a learning curve to any game, but like specifically in Isaac, you're like, oh, I need to learn what items are troll items and not worth having, right? Like, because there's like the magazines and like the quick burn items, and it's like some of those are like actually really good, and some of them like have a very limited use. Like they will, one will teleport you straight to the boss in a level, which could be good, but like if you didn't know what it did, and you still wanted to collect rewards on that level, like could totally fuck your game up,
Right, and a lot of the items are just like their description is so vague. Like there's just an item that's shit, and when you press the spacebar, it just creates a piece of shit, and you could just shoot it, and with a chance that it might drop like a penny.
Interesting.
Yeah, but then there's shit like Abaddon. It doesn't really tell you what it does, but it'll take away like your 2 last red hearts, give you 6 black hearts, increase damage, increase all this shit. But when you pick it up, it doesn't really tell you all of that. And there's other it's very vague explanations on items, which creates a big community. Like a binding like that, like a game like The Binding of Isaac is never gonna have like the high status and a lot of money, but like a really niche, wonderful
Dude,
community.
there's something that plagues me with like my gaming existence, where it's like I want to look up everything on the wiki, right? Like I want to know what every item does before I use it. I want to be perfect. And it's just like
You're hindering yourself from that
hindering
exploration,
from the
man.
dude, seriously. And it's like it's something another thing I've like actually become pretty good, better, and just becoming better about, just because it's much more fun to fail. But like I've been playing Disco Elysium, and I've been having that like happen a lot, where I'm like, oh, a lot of this game is about role playing and just experiencing it, and it's actually usually funnier when you fail. It's like even if you need something to happen, because you're like solving a case, right? So like you can have the stress of like, if I don't get all the right clues, I'm not gonna like everything's not gonna add up, right?
Right. Yeah.
But there'll be like social checks or physical checks, and it's like you're kind of like a pathetic cop, and so it's like when you fail to do something physically, it's really funny. And then like you kind of have to figure out a different way to work around it. And it's
Right.
like if I just like Google it on a Wikipedia thing or whatever, then it's like it's just not it's not as good, you know.
Mhm.
Correct. And I saw you gifted me that.
Yeah, I just sent it over. It was like
Mhm.
You sweet guy,
it
you.
was on sale,
Hey,
you know.
I'm super down to play it.
It's yeah.
Might be might be recordable.
Yeah, I mean,
I have nothing of it. I saw it. I read the description of your gift, and I was like, okay.
I think if you played and filmed your reaction of it, like, but you would try to go for like a really unhinged run because you can like take a bunch, you know, like I know the way you would play it. You would just
A little
take
chaotic.
yeah, very chaotic. You'd be taking a lot of drugs and you'd just be saying a lot of the fucked up dialogue options. So
Yeah, that's
I think
guaranteed.
it'd be fun to see you go on a rampage
Yeah, I heard it
and
was
probably
a good,
kill yourself
I
on the
heard it was
first
a
day.
good game though. I heard it was pretty interesting. I hadn't had a chance to play
Yeah,
it.
it's a
but-
really solid RPG. It's slowly becoming one of my favorites just because it's making me rethink the way I play other games and like that and even just like there's some really good politics in it too, like in philosophies. It's pretty fun.
Is it
That's the-
single player?
Yeah.
It's single player. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Single player
that's the exact reason I like all those Souls games pretty much. Miyazaki doesn't tell you where you're going, why you're there, outside of an existential purpose that the world pretty much hates you and you have to fix it somehow.
Right.
And all the lore inside the game is told through different items effectively.
Yeah.
So if you
So
want to
have piece
actually
it together yourself.
yeah, even if you were to look at the wiki, you're only putting more conjecture into the atmosphere of the game. So that like the whole game's ideology is to shroud itself within mystery. So yeah, you can look at a map and it can tell you where exactly to go, but it's up to you to figure out your own meaning, and it's also up to you to figure out like how you're going to approach the game. So despite having the keys to like the whole playthrough itself, it's going to be very difficult to just rely on that to get through the game and the progression.
That's another one of those tough games because I feel like there are some games where it's worth coming into with a bit of knowledge, like Minecraft. Actually,
Yeah.
figuring out how to use a
The
crafting
crafting table?
table
Yeah, bro.
and all of that shit, like if that isn't explained to you, like I don't know how you kind of get there.
Yeah.
And like I think even now they have a recipe book cooked into the actual
They do.
game, for that reason. But that was a game that was built on having to have prior knowledge and go on the wiki.
It's true.
And even like Dark Souls and that's what I'm saying is like you kind of need to know how to make a decent build sometimes
Sure.
before you go into a game because you don't want to fuck yourself.
Yeah, you could
entirely.
start yourself for the entirety of a Souls game,
Right.
and not know it. You
Yeah.
like put all your shit in faith, but you're just like a strength like build. You don't know.
It kind of depends because you can look at what they do and scale with.
Right.
So if
Sure.
I would
Like
feel
using
if you had never played an
context.
RPG before, then it might be a little like, what the fuck does strength have to correlate with the letter on the weapon do?
Right.
But like once you kind of hash that out, I think theory crafting in these games isn't wrong. Like figuring out what build is for you.
No, for sure.
Yeah,
Right,
because you
right.
kind of need to like. So I agree in that aspect in that capacity.
I think it's just about like having the right level of it, like because at the end of the day, yes, you need to experience it, right? And like we just said, like the failures is what makes the experience. No one's good at Dark Souls when they start. The whole point is dying a bunch of times
Right.
to the game and learning through it.
I feel that way about a lot of management games I play as well, like RimWorld or Dwarf Fortress. Dude, it's very unforgiving, and it doesn't tell you anything about.
You and your little dwarves.
Dude, yeah, bro. They're literally fucking 64-bit pixels running around. I have to keep them happy,
Yeah,
and I have to keep
I've
them
heard
safe.
that.
Yeah, bro.
God, this guy's frustrated. Damn it.
Yeah, a wood chopper can kill himself by a tree falling on him, and you have to learn from that. What am I?
so good.
There's just what am I supposed to learn? There's a chance that I could cut wood, he just fucking dies. But with that's like the fun in it. Like I picked a dwarf fortress area. Like you pick your starting zone on a procedurally generated map based on the allotted amount of time that you select for the timeline of the whole world. So let's just say you choose a 500-year-old world. It randomly generates events and characters and NPCs, and you and your little dwarfs will go on a excavation. and I chose a biome that was on a volcano, and it was extremely hostile. Just because I honestly wanted to get my shit kicked. I was like, how long can I actually survive this? I had to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
I had to learn the hard way that lava can climb uphill.
Oh shit.
That's insane.
Yeah, but
I have a question for you guys.
Can lava climb uphill? I
Can
don't think
lava
you can do
climb
that in real
uphill?
life.
No.
I don't think so either. That's why I was so convinced I was fine.
What is your earliest memory of a game that you played that you're like, oh wow, this is really interesting? Like like something that's completely like of a different style of game.
I got it.
But also remind yourselves, when we started playing games, this is like PlayStation 1 era, Xbox original, and even like PlayStation 2. There's a lot of wacky, zany games. I'm just curious what like fell into your guys' lap.
So, one was Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver. So you play as a character who plays like Asmodeus. You're a demon of some sort. I vaguely remember this game, but I literally love this game so much that I used to pretend I was the character and I'd jump off shit hella high and try to fly. Like I'd try to pop out my wings with my little like my scapulas and I'd be like, yeah. But Kain pretty much got betrayed by his brother and he gets trapped in the lowest pits of hell and he has to find his way back to get his revenge and effectively regain his wings. So I remember being so stuck on the puzzles in this game, and I had no resources to figure out what was right or wrong, but just dying, jumping and dying over and over again. I remember being like having baby rage. Like I was like probably 7 or 8, and I was sitting there. I was like starting to go, like I was like starting to lose it, bro. And this is like before I got my dad bought the first like gateway PC that we had in the house, so I had no internet. So I was like fucked. But I loved the game so much that I couldn't give it up. So I had to like figure it out through trial and force. And that's why I am the way I am today.
Let's go.
Sit and I subject myself to masochistic treatment. I beat the shit out of myself and I go,
Damn it, I need it.
I'm better than this. I need to succeed. Shout out to League of Legends too.
Yeah.
Gameplay loops that force you to accept that you need to win. Like you have to.
Yeah.
And if you, I mean, and it sounds really fucked up, but like if you carry like the idea that you like this challenge is insurmountable and it's a brick wall that you must constantly run yourself into, not knowing if it will ever break, I'll run myself into that wall all fucking day because I'm not going to get trumped by a brick wall.
It's the philosophy you just brought up. We just talked about this shit.
Yep.
Run into that wall, fucking push that rock up that hill.
Yep.
I'm going to run into that brick wall head first so many times.
No, I mean, I've talked about it with arcade games before, too, where it's like, you know, the whole point of an arcade game is to present a very fundamental or rudimentary gameplay loop. Mm-hmm. But you're supposed to master it, right? Like a pinball machine is like that one map, right?
Right.
Yeah, or Space Invaders, right? Like, it's not going to change past that.
Fucking Dig Dug,
Galaga.
Dude, I forgot about that shit. I had that shit on Game Boy, and that shit used to piss me off.
Yeah.
I used to get mad at that shit.
It's like, wait, how's he come behind me?
Yeah.
Fuck, no.
Did you guys have the Namco Museum or something? Like, the whole package of all those different ones?
Yeah.
Where you
Miss Pac-Man and
you have
Galaga.
the red and you have the
the
yellow, and you plug it right into the TV, and then you can play it right there.
They had it on all the different consoles, and I'm sure they had the... Are you talking about the ones that you plugged into the back of your tube TVs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, those...
That's old school.
They had I'm sure those were on those game packs, because those were, you know, just a collection of arcade games or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your game?
It's hard for me to say what the first is. I remember, as far as like PlayStation 1 goes,
Any game that comes to your head that you're like, wow, this is...
in that era. Man, I didn't play a ton on PlayStation 1. There were a few games. I think probably PlayStation 2 and GameCube is where I would remember more.
Sure.
I think the DK Conga game. This one.
Shit.
You use the congas to. It was literally like it was a full DK game. You controlled DK with it, and then you also had like boss battles. You swung from like vines and stuff. It was like just a DK platformer game, but like extremely well produced and fun to play. it was unreal. Like that's the type of game that just made me go like, what the fuck? And like I feel like that, and like also the other rhythm based games like Dance Dance Revolution, and Guitar Hero and / Rock Band, of course, were like big explosion moments for me. As far as like I wasn't allowed to play like M-rated games for a while, so like Ratchet and Clank was like a huge series for me because it was just like, oh, it had all the, you know, it was one of the few like 90s to early 2000s cynicism like games where like the snarkiness like worked for me. I was like, yeah, like, you know, and it was also very
Jack and
cartoonish.
Daxter?
I played Jack and Daxter later,
too, yeah.
but yeah, it's I mean, that was really good. Just not I didn't play it then because I think those had a higher rating. But Ratchet and Clank like somehow slipped under like the radar like that.
Dude, fuck.
No smoking, no sexual connotation, no cussing.
Because I was on fucking GTA Vice City, bro, and I was trying to figure out why this guy couldn't swim. I was like, why do I just die when I go in the water?
But also, I feel like I had because we had a Gateway computer, and I played like Putt Putt on there, and Jam Sam.
Did you ever play that pinball machine game?
Of course, everyone's played that one.
Dude, that shit hits hard.
That was on Microsoft, I think, right? No,
yeah, but Gateway is still Gateway is a subsidiary.
It's still Microsoft. I'm sure it was on there.
Yeah, because they run Windows.
Yeah, fair enough.
Microsoft has everything.
But those were my intro to like, you know, adventure novel type, you know, like Monkey Island style games, and like those were really fucking cool too.
Yeah, the little monkey.
Because I'm just like, I'm exploring a world frame by frame. It's 2D, you know. But like,
are you talking about Super Monkey Ball?
No, not Super Monkey Ball. Putt Putt and Pajama Sam.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed it.
But you would like. You would be solving like a mystery, and you would have to talk to people, and like you would have to activate things through like dialogue and interactions and stuff. So I was like, you know, the first type of Metrovania set up where it's like, okay, here's one world, right? But like you have to do things in a certain order to unlock other things,
so
right?
Would you say that's a fond, positive gameplay loop that you miss in gaming?
Oh,
I mean, it still exists. I won't say it doesn't.
Averick was just asking what was like an early thing that like expanded your kind of mind on gaming, like, and like those were kind of like the games that made me go, oh, like here's a narrative that's like, there is a path for me to go down, but like it's also about me kind of finding it, right?
Well, yeah,
it's not necessarily just about putting me on rails and pushing me down this one path.
Yeah,
right?
that's kind of what I was getting at, is that the positive reinforcement there is that you're a self-insert no matter what you do, because you're living through the narration, which is like kind of something that I miss from early gaming, because that's what most of the most popular games had going for them.
Yeah. It's true. They were narrative driven because like the visuals weren't there, the mechanics weren't there yet. Well, so they had to create like an interesting story, compelling characters, even on like a surface of like Spyro, you know, like Spyro, like that games like that were like very base, but like, man, it was so much fun. Like I had the fondest memories having like boss battles for the first time, you know,
running around the worlds and shit.
Crash Bandicoot, it was a straight up rail game. Like you can go, you know.
But Crash Bandicoot was also like a technological marvel. Like it had to be on rails for it to like keep everything like rendered. And
oh, really?
Yeah, because it had the Naughty Dog has always, as a company, pushed the limit to what the hardware they're working on can do. Last of Us was on PS3 and looked fucking unreal on that console. Like, still looks better than most games today.
Yeah.
True.
And like they've just always been able to see, you know, that's the beauty of when you're working on a game for one piece of hardware is you know everyone's going to play it on this piece of hardware, so we can optimize it to this. Whereas like with a PC, you know, everyone's going to have their different systems and be running it at different capacities. So
very true.
That's why people use gameplay engines, because the engines usually do the heavy lifting of making it work for tons of different setups, right?
Interesting.
Okay.
So you guys both explained, you know, some cool, interesting games you played.
Yeah, because we're cool, interesting people.
I'd say. And you just got played, cuz. 3, 2, 1.
You did not.
No, just kidding. So I like both your guys' answers, and it's interesting because I feel like at those early time periods in gaming, there was so many weird games that people played. Like, did anyone play Croc 2 here?
What?
Yeah.
The fuck is that?
Okay, well, it's number 2, and I'm pretty sure number 2 was still on PS1.
What?
But you could play it on PS2, you know?
Okay.
And it was a very, like, Crash Bandicoot-esque game, but it's more like Spyro, Crash
But
Bandicoot.
you're a crocodile.
But you're a little tiny crocodile, you know? And you walk around in this world, shit's fucked up. And I'll show you guys the art to it, so you guys have some context. I'll see if I can show the camera as well, so you guys know what the fuck we're talking about here.
I'll put in a Croc 2 image for the audience so they can see.
All right, so there we go, boys. Wait, what the fuck?
Jeez. Okay, that looks kind of familiar, actually.
That's Croc 2. I haven't seen this screen in a whole lot of time.
Croc 2 will be right up here, fellas, if you'd like to see it.
You know, the gameplay looks like this.
Oh my god, yeah, it's like Mario.
But like the sounds and stuff are so like this was my Mario. I never played
it's a little more like Banjo-Kazooie or something.
Yeah, like in the style of
I
art.
can see that.
And you get little gems and stuff. It's actually really fun. But there's games like that I played that I love, but there was one that he knows that had a really cool mechanic that I think like put in a core value of the game loops that I look for now.
Tetris.
No, not
It's
Tetris.
not Tetris?
No, I don't
Dude,
know.
okay,
Puzzles.
because get this.
Puzzles.
When I play a game,
Puzzles and
first
shapes,
thing I look
colors.
for
Boom.
is if I line up a bunch of shit in a line. Is it all going to
shit's hella
disappear?
good. That creates
you know?
onset OCD, okay?
That does not create anything good.
Yeah. You
What are
has
you
to be
talking about? What are
perfect.
you talking about?
Rotate, down.
Oh, no, that one's sticking out. That one's sticking out.
Oh, God, no, it's bad. It's wrong. Yeah, you get dopamine when you do good, and you get bad feels when you do bad. But the game that I played was Hogs of War. So it was it was
You said I know this one.
I just remember. Yeah, you know it. Everyone knows
He's
it.
told me about this game.
So it's like a worms game, you know.
Oh yeah, I love worms.
But you are on like an actual
Stickman
battlefield.
Arena. You ever play that one?
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So you're on like an actual larger map of like topography, and you're like a 3D model, and you can walk around in your turn, but you only have a certain seconds to make your turn. So you have to walk to a certain area, get a weapon, and shoot it. And each time you shoot it, it goes, "Oh, that's gonna get a load of," or just like some like wacky one-liner, and they're all in like fucked up cheesy accents. And the gameplay's fun, right? There's tacticality, I guess is the best way to say it. And you have to think about what you're doing, and it's turn-based, and the AI is great. But as you progress through the game, you get to evolve your characters and like pick classes for them, and it's all like military-based. So you you get like an engineer, but then the engineer can become like crazy ass shit, and it was actually really in depth. And you can get hella OP like certain things, like the sniper, for example, could just his turn he'd go. And he farts, and then he turns into a tree. And then like the AI can't see you. And then like you would kill the AI, then out of nowhere, a bunch of snipers would come out of the trees, and they've been there the whole time. Like it's great. It's a very fun, interesting game. And for most games that I've been attracted to further from that point are games where you get progression in your character that you play. Mm-hmm. That's why I was so appealed to like World of Warcraft. You know, you have your select abilities, you have talent trees, and like League of Legends, you get to create your own builds, and like those types of games for me are the most rewarding. Just to, to tie it back into our original conversation.
Right. No, and I agree with that. I was going to bring up WoW too, because when it first came out, I was like too young to understand that. Like I'd only played like single player RPGs. But playing the relaunch of Classic, it was like super addicting to just be on that simple A to B level up quest grind and then post game. And it's very straightforward. Yep. But the straightforwardness is disillusioned by the fact that you're traveling through all these different vibrant zones, or some zones are more sinister and scary settings.
Yeah.
So it really, and the ambiance and the music and everything really ties into this beautiful symphony of just great overall gameplay that forces you to be engaged at all times. And I think that's what gets our brains going because we love, grind. I think our brains just love fucking grinding shit out.
Well, that's
We
like
love a grind. We love a good level up.
Love the hustle,
I had a trial on World of Warcraft for like 10 days, and I only played for like 5 of those, and I got to level 27, and I was like, oh, this is bad. I was like, I'm going to be a different person if I start playing this game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
you
like I
would've.
did not, I had the self-will to be
You're
like,
probably
okay,
wise. You're probably wise.
gonna
Pull
enjoy
away.
a life of gaming in other.
You would have been
like,
so
I'll just
fucking
never-
sweaty.
I'll
at
just
WoW.
never-
I could see it now.
But that's the thing about that is that, and it doesn't bother me, but like, I'm missing it from a lot of games these days. Like, dude, once it's over, it's so good. It's like, dude, once you hit 60, that final ding, that final level up, it's fucking.
Then the real game starts.
Yeah, then the real game technically starts. But I will say this about like the PvP in that game: there is no other game that is so like skill based in entirety. Other than World of Warcraft, like the PvP in that game is flawless. There's so much like there is a meta, but there's also like if you're extremely skilled, you should not lose any matchup. Which
Yeah.
that is where I find myself like highly invested in the game because it's like something in me is like you can always be better, more potential. You can bring out more potential from your class, even at the final level of your character. There's more potential that you could squeeze out to maximize your character's efficiency. Which that's super exciting. But
The concept of twinking, which is a weird concept, which is a weird word to say now, but this is the concept that it was. Okay, that's the name that coined the term in WoW. With WoW, when you first start to do PvP, you're segmented into levels, of course, right? You're not going to be a level 12 versus a level 60. That's fucking stupid. But they would do it in segments of 10 to 19, and then, 20 to, so on and so forth, right? But what people would do is they would get level 19 characters, and you can go to a guy and you can cap your experience points. So you can not level further beyond 19. Then, if you have a high-level character, you can get these BOAs, bind on account items, and they're just straight up a full armor set that scales indefinitely throughout the game. Mid-game, they get kind of shitty, but in the beginning of the game, they're fucking overpowered. So you fully kit out your character at 19 with these bind on account items that you can use at level.
and then you just camp for when
Dude.
people come through 10 to 19.
You go into the battleground, you queue for it, and you teleport into it and capture the flag. You go in there, you're level 19, no one stands a chance. But then you verse another twink, but it's...
but that's what I'm saying is,
you camp the 10 to 19 battlegrounds.
You camp all the people that don't have gear yet.
Yeah, you're the best of your
But
bracket,
not
pretty
Alliance
much.
versus Horde, so you're not like raiding.
For sure.
But you're in like specific
and I know
PvP.
PvP and WoW, you have to, everyone has to agree to do it. Like,
Right, it's a
Queue
a
system.
queue system, and you teleport in.
Right.
But it literally one-shotting like level 12s as a level 19 like rogue or a hunter or
Yeah,
something
fucked up, man.
was literally like the most satisfying dopamine rush I've gotten like for so long. And then you just like, oh, I'm bored of this character. Sell or delete the character, get all the weapons and armor off of him, send it to a different character and level that person. But WoW was fucked up like that. Like Blizzard put that shit in their game. They're like, yeah, this is fine.
Blizzard
Yeah,
had
man.
it right for a while, dude. Those
True.
guys are really good at
The money was flowing.
yeah. I mean, even prior to WoW, they like Warcraft and what's the other one they made?
StarCraft.
StarCraft,
There we
yeah.
go. Yeah, those are
Very
like,
original names.
Yeah.
Warcraft.
This one, it's called StarCraft.
This one-
and this one's Warcraft.
This one's
and,
different because it's not on a terrestrial planet.
yeah.
Okay, it's
think-
in the stars.
Guy goes, make it.
Got a new one.
You said Zergs? Okay, make it.
This one's called Seacraft. It's all underwater.
Hey, yo, Sea of Thieves, though, one of the games that I downloaded and bought, and I was like, this game's going to suck. I played
Turned
it
out cool, huh?
for hours. I was like, this game's actually pretty
Is
cool.
that the pirate? one?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that game does suck.
No, it's fun as shit.
I won't play that game, but
Dude,
it's
if you play it
interesting.
with a group of like 3 of your friends, it's hilarious. The PvP is hilarious.
If you play a group of if you play with the right group, any game can be good.
100%.
But yeah, that game, it's very funny what they sold that game as versus what it
Yeah.
ended up being.
Yeah.
That's why I say it's ass.
One of my first RPGs ever. Wait, no, it's not an RPG, but like a progression-esque game with PvP and large scale is Pirates of the Caribbean Online. Yo, shout out.
What? I didn't know about
Yep,
this.
Dude,
They had enough. Yeah.
If anyone watching this knows about that game, I'll give you $1,000 cash.
Yo, hey,
Hey, bring me to court.
I should have just lied about.
Oh, I played that.
I'm not editing that out.
Yeah, with documentation, of course. Spoken word works. I'll just give out hella money for free. Fuck it, right?
Sure. If you find him on the streets.
Yeah, if you find me on the streets. Wait, the Loft? Dude,
Dude,
wait,
Pirates of the Caribbean Online? Bro,
Yeah.
I played that.
dude, but dude, it's
That's
actually
one of the 2,000 players.
it's actually pretty good. Like it was very in depth with the PvP, like your weapon system and like your progression, and you can get like boats, and there's a lot of like end game bosses that are pretty OP.
Did he play as Davy Jones?
No,
Davy Jones' locker.
he's not even in the Pirates.
Just
of the
shut up,
Caribbean.
man. We're not talking about his locker.
Davy
Well,
Jones.
that's
Why
where
does
you-
everyone want to talk about this dude's locker?
That's
I'm
where
talking
you're-
about the real dude.
Hey, you're about
That's
to
where
be in a
that-
locker if you keep talking about Pirates of the Caribbean Online, man.
My man.
Davy Jones be fucking in his locker. That's
Throw-
why.
I'll throw
Every,
a fucking hand.
Yeah.
Davy Jones is just hung and fucking gives good pipe. So
Yo! Jesus.
Hey,
hey,
can't lie.
Davy Jones is.
You know about that?
Just saying,
You
man.
know about that Davy Jones pack?
You didn't get it from watching SpongeBob, man? Hella sexual and connotation.
That
in
was
there.
sexual innuendo and SpongeBob.
We all love
Yeah.
those smelly ass socks and Davy Jones locker.
Yep. Ooh, it stinks.
That's beautiful. I love that. Anyone play the SpongeBob game?
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
which one?
So
There's one on Wii and there's one on PlayStation.
PlayStation, of
Well,
course.
And you run
Um,
around as SpongeBob and
What
drive.
PlayStation?
PlayStation
Because
2.
there's a lot of
PlayStation 2.
SpongeBob games on those PlayStations.
It's true.
Actually, yeah. it's
there's a
supposed to be
game
true.
that
there's
came out
different
right after the
platformers. There's
movie.
Battle for Bikini Bottom, I think,
I
which
think
is
that
the
on-
one that came out, I think, PS2, GameCube. That one, yeah, that one, like, it was like Plankton was trying to like take over.
Take over the world with
No, classic.
the chum bucket with the helmets.
Yeah,
That was the one I
helmets,
played.
the helmets.
That shit was my jam. I'm pretty
I
sure
love that one.
that's the one they just remade about a year ago.
Yeah, you're right, they did. I played it. I played some of the remake. It was all right, and then I was kind of like some of the nostalgia. Sheen fell off, and I was like, okay, but I did get through Spyro. Like you brought that up, I got through the first Spyro. I liked that a lot.
Oh, they remade it?
They did the reignited trilogy.
Oh,
they
cool.
just,
That was a
or-
couple
Just like
years ago,
updating
right?
Whatever.
the visuals? Or
Yeah.
They
They
just
just-
a full remaster?
yeah, they just exactly they updated the visuals and put it on PC and on modern consoles. You know,
Shout out to
it's just
Spyro, dude.
what they do with every game now. Essentially, like modernize it enough that like it can
remake.
last, and we can like just keep updating that. You know, like
yeah.
now that there's like a standard, it feels like because
Mhm.
every game console's kind of like equaling out to one another. I mean, even the Sony games are coming onto PC.
Yeah.
You know, the
Sony
same with the
just wants-
Microsoft exclusives.
Yeah, they just want to cut out Microsoft at whatever cost they can.
Yeah.
It's a battle of the giants.
But also, like, dude, I mean, these games have been on their console for 5 years. They were the games that were pushing hardware sales, and they did that at the time, and they made money at the time as exclusives.
Right.
So they're like, why? But why not? You know, make more money. You know, The Last of Us TV show's coming out, right? So they're like, let's put The Last of Us on PC, and you know,
Extract some
that's
more
just a
money.
smart call.
Yeah.
Did
Smart
they?
business.
Yeah,
They're going to?
they did.
Oh, shit.
It's on there.
Hey,
Damn.
Michael Miyazaki, I'm still waiting for my Bloodborne PC port, please. Please, please, please.
Please, Michael.
Please.
Miyazaki.
Nah, for real. Michael Miyazaki.
Michael Miyazaki.
You should just emulate it somehow.
Michael
Figure
I
it
feel like
out.
You probably can. You probably can.
Get a PlayStation 5 or whatever you need. PlayStation 4.
Nah, I'll use my noggin. Oh, fuck. I was going to bring up Pokemon as my last.
Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all.
That song was a banger. But nah, I was going to bring up Pokemon, but like that's short and sweet. That's like a really good fucking gameplay enforcement loop. Just, hey, catch them all, homie. all 364 or however many are in the fucking Pokédex. Nice.
Yeah, I'd say.
But
What do we think about this? Should we just?
I mean, I think I was thinking of we could restart it now, but I was just gonna bring up Diablo, and then that was pretty much it for me. So I wanted to bring up lastly, or at least for my takes, Diablo. So Diablo to me, I didn't even fucking beat any Diablos, nor did I play 1 or 2, which I've heard are the best ones. But with 4 coming out pretty soon, and I've watched some videos on it, and I've played similar games like Path of Exile and Last Epoch or Grim Dawn. Mm-hmm. You played a little bit of that. Mm-hmm. So it's effectively a hyperlinear story that encourages you to that has a really high replay value because you're rewarded with account-wide benefits. So for any of your characters, they get these said benefits. So for example, if you clear the game with your main character, get to whatever the max level may be, you will gain, let's say, plus 30 vitality account-wide. So the next character that you play is a little bit stronger, and so on and so forth. And I think that's actually really fair, and I wouldn't necessarily say it's super healthy because it's super grindy, but it is something that doesn't require you to, like, of course, yes, Blizzard is going to monetize it in some way or somehow, but people or, kids like I once was who didn't have money to spend on games, you could still, in exchange for your time, which is also valuable, gain that same progress. But really, what piqued my interest was the weapon system. So uniques and legendaries, they alter the way that your abilities function. Mm-hmm. So what you're looking for is certain, and all of these weapons and uniques are randomly generated, like the little affixes that come with the weapon itself. So not only are you creating a build within a talent tree, but you're creating a build within the weapons and armor that you're wielding. So that adds another layer of complexity and kind of permissibility for you to just grind the same shit over and over again, or play through the same story on a different character and get different affixes for a build that you may have in mind.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's also interesting because I think Hades has the same a lot of these roguelikes have a component that lets you power up as you go on. Mm-hmm. It makes each run a bit easier in some respects. Mm-hmm. And Hades has an upgrade system for its character, but there's an interesting gameplay loop. The argument is that you start and your skill level is at the lowest point, right? And as you go on, your skill level will go up, right? And then your character player is also at the lowest level they will ever be at, right? And they get stronger as the game goes on.
Yeah, so it's like a dual progression.
But there's this inverse property of the game is too tough when you're bad at it and your character sucks, right? You almost need the buffs early on so that you'll play to help you get further into the runs. Mm-hmm. But then as you get better at the game, you want to take away buffs, right, to make it still challenging for a player.
Right, yeah.
So there is this interesting, you don't want to over reward people, right?
Right.
And yeah, Hades has a pretty good counter to this, which is they have a heat system. Which is once you've kind of beat the game, beat a run or two, let's say. I don't know exactly when you unlock it, but it just allows you to add heat, which is add extra damage or speed to enemies, add buffs to bosses, add a time limit.
Yeah.
All these types of interesting things.
The skull modifiers for campaign rounds.
And so you're just kind of essentially okay, this time I'm gonna go for one more heat, and you get rewards for doing it, So, it's each run can still feel a little, tougher too once you've even beat the game proper.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you get any rewards for the heat?
Yeah. There's these statues that you unlock for doing high heat runs.
That's cool.
So there's some story tied to it, but you also each boss gives you rewards when you beat them and on each heat level. So
Okay.
You just get more rewards that you can use on cosmetics and, prestiging, to use a term that we've already set up here.
Which
Yep.
with
Yeah.
these types of games, you need this. Like for the Binding of Isaac, for example, when you beat said bosses in a said way, or do certain things, then you unlock new items to further get next time you play. So that it not only rewards you, like in all these examples that we've mentioned, rewards you when you're doing good, but also gives you replayability to come back.
Right.
And that's the key to some game, like a lot of games all the games we talked
Yeah,
about.
I mean,
super valuable.
because we all clearly need the reward at some level,
The
but we're
dopamine,
also looking for the challenge, right? Because there's games that there's games I come back to, like Rocket League all the time. I've been playing that since launch, and I'll pick it up for a couple months and then put it down for like a year. It feels like, but like it's healthy to just, I feel like, have like a wide range of games that you like and that you can dabble with, depending on the circumstance.
And there are, to all due respect, we're talking about gameplay loops as the main topic, but there's a huge respect for games that are made to be played one thorough playthrough
Once.
as a creative experience,
Right.
Like like Scorn, for example, is probably one of the most controversial games that has came out recently, and also a tribute to real artistic talent and real game design from their standpoint.
Yeah.
They could have made it so much more flashy and usable and more higher user friendly for multiplayer or something, but they committed to an idea, a lore, and a beauty thing, and like you can play it as one time and get the satisfaction of it, or play it again the same exact way, but look at the world more. Which those types of games have their place as just an experience, and those games are lost, and more games need to adopt that gameplay loop.
I mean, I was gonna say Last of Us Part 2, it was one of the best designed games I've ever played, and it's because of the way they took, the player's experience
Right.
into consideration. Not only is it a really well designed single player game, but if you die in an encounter, the next time when you respawn, the enemies will go on different paths and do different things. And the whole gameplay is already extremely adaptive. Like they've kind of really deepened the stealth in this one. And like, characters will react to other characters' deaths when they like come across their bodies. But like it really changes up the way you play from scenario to scenario, even if you go through the same path twice.
Right.
Which is, just a brilliant way to, they design these open-ended levels that allow, a lot of player expression. But it keeps the same environments feeling fresh still. And you're right. Taking these types of things into consideration can still, have an effect, like Deathloop as well. I've talked about that on our show before, but that's a game where like they take the artificiality of playing through a scenario of an environment multiple times, and you kind of use that to your advantage, because they have like these 4 districts and you visit them at 4 different times of night and day, and depending on when you are there, there's different things set up there, but it's the same level design that you're already used to.
Right.
But you're also repeating the same day over and over again. So you come back tonight and you're like, oh, it's the club scene at the square. Like I know what happens, when like it's this dance party, right? And that like gives you your own mastery over the simulation in an interesting way too, because through repetition you become that master of it, right?
I think this this topic calls for mention a particular game that I hold dear to me. I'm just completely blanking on the name, which is hilarious. No Man's Sky.
Oh, nice. I was gonna say you should just like.
I thought you were say Tetris. I was like, mother.
No, I was just gonna say you should just mouth it, and then we would like fill it in later.
Yeah, I voiceover. No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky.
Yeah, editor, do that. No, I'm just
Wink,
kidding.
wink.
Yeah,
Nudge, nudge.
yeah, we don't have an editor. Well, technically, but so No Man's Sky is a game that's trying to do everything we're talking about, but to an extreme level.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make it the most perfect mathematical like equation for a procedural generation. Let's make it so big and expansive it'll blow people's brains, which it did. But what is a world with infinite possibilities and infinite things, but has nothing in it, no sustenance?
Nothing to
Right.
do.
Yeah, it's a giant cake. You're like, yes, but it's made of water and flour. That's it. You're like, where the fuck's the good shit?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Somewhere. I think you get to the middle.
Well-
you get to the middle, or you're like, yay, boom. Get pushed back to the very back of the cake and go, what? Oh, yeah, you're just going to start eating again. But this is when I
Yeah.
first played it, when it first came out.
Start eating more. Look for a bigger ship. That they can eat some more.
Well,
You
they-
know,
Yeah.
look for some more fuel.
Pretty
eat some
s-
more.
Pretty simple. It's pretty much just a space sim.
But
Yeah,
they fixed
probably.
it now. They,
I know they've like updated stuff.
I
but
heard.
like,
I heard they completely changed the game.
is fixing a game adding a base builder? You know what I mean? And adding multiplayer, because like it's
okay.
still the same gameplay loop.
Yep.
Sure.
It's
But-
just like, is that what you're getting real value out of?
Right.
Because the whole thing about that game is that it's so expansive. The whole point is that planets are disposable, and that no other person will go to that planet again. Right? That your experience is theoretically like theoretically you could, you know, and maybe like two people will cross the same place, and it did happen on launch day. And people figured out that there was no multiplayer on day one
Yep.
because they were like, you know, posting and trying to figure out how to get together, because of course it's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
the internet goes,
Well,
actually.
and things aren't truly random, you know, things are based up to a computer, so like they're only as random as they can get, you
Right,
know, and
yeah.
people are only so actually farly disposed of. But I digress. Anyways, the thing about that game is just like, I don't think you can fix it with the updates. I mean, they made some people happy, but like the ship had already sailed. Everyone had already returned the game. That was like one of the most refunded games of all time.
Yeah.
And it actually like is a big reason why like you are able to refund games even in the modern storefront. It was like people sued over it, and like they made those decisions.
Yeah.
But I sorry, I didn't want to jump on that too much, because I was gonna say I think Minecraft is really the king here.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Straight
because the stuff you do build and can share in that actually feels like it's impactful because it has a community and like an actual way to, you know, have people remix these ideas, right? But like you still like are exploring an infinite world, right? You can put in any seed in and discover anything
That's
still
what I was
that's
gonna
new
say.
out
Notch did the infinitesimal,
Yeah.
infinite, whatever you
Yeah.
want to call it. He knocked it, you know, pretty close on that door, as close as you can get, I think, in
Right.
terms of replayability and like the world spaces that you can generate
Yeah.
and create.
I think No Man's Sky though is like a better, you know, like it's not a great game as much as a great like metaphor of as game, where it's like this is what the hollowness of space would really be like, right?
It's
Like
true.
like you're right, you do play it, you come in with all this optimism of like how cool it's going to be, and then you just realize it's more of the same and there's not really much out there, and in fact like you're starting to miss home and you're just alone, right? Like that's what space exploration would really be like. And like it's yeah. You know, that game, that simple gameplay loop of just like grinding material for fuel and then like these upgrades that like really don't mean much is like, that's just like the capitalist like fucking you know spacescape you'd find yourself in out there, you know?
Though.
Yeah.
Like it's good in creating that world, but like that
Two
the
things.
beauty of Minecraft is that it actually is
True.
the promise. It's like, you know, it's like it
It's,
can be
it's
everything.
delivered upon.
Right,
Yeah.
it can be the underwater thing, it can be the space thing, it can be abstract, it can, you know, be it can be every type of thing. Like, yeah.
There's two things I want to mention. One, No Man's Sky's like crowning jewel, I think, is being able to leave atmospheres, no loading screens ever, and just be able to like float around space. Like getting smoked out and like finding new animals on planets can be fun for has its novelty.
Well,
but also the second thing that I also want to mention is
I was gonna say it's a good effect, but the loading screen is the transition between planets, right? So the game unloads the space as you go into nothing, and then while you're in nothing and approach another planet, it's rendering it.
Generates it.
So it's like it's a good effect, but like I mean if
Hey man,
Anyways,
all this
you
will
know,
be null and void when Todd Howard releases Starfield. So don't worry.
Straight up, bro.
September
Straight
29th, baby. Let's go.
let's go.
let's go.
fucking
Yeah, Jay, we got to do the
Starfield episode.
yeah. Well, I think we gotta record our LPs or something like
Oh yeah, dude.
we
You
should
already
go in
know.
on it.
Starfield's fucking. Hey man,
2029. That's fucked up.
the Loft, Starfield
2039.
plays. Yep.
2062.
Yo, what?
2070.
The other thing I was gonna say is, what if No Man's Sky was a ploy to see if everyone has the capability of space travel? How many planets could like we visit within like a couple years?
Oh yeah, everyone had a ship.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting data. That would be kind of cool. I know those motherfuckers just wanted to like. I feel like they didn't lie. Like they weren't deceptive in their shit, but they're like, "Oh, this is it," and then the devs were like, "Dude, there's nothing here."
Yeah, they're a hell of a
and
set.
someone was just like, "Fuck it, doesn't matter. Just fucking push it out."
They were like, we never thought it was gonna get this big, man. they're like these internet nerds are gonna get angry at us if we
Yeah.
don't deliver. They're like, I don't know what the fuck to do, man.
Yeah, just release it. Go, go, go.
Just release it.
Yeah, dude, I remember opening that
The game's
game.
called No Man's Sky, not Every Man's Sky.
No man's keyword. No man's.
Yeah, no one gets it.
man's.
But I think that was a good like
No
the way-
man's.
the way that we went from the beginning to the end, ending with a game that has no gameplay loop at all, outside of the existential loneliness of travel.
Yeah.
That's like that. We kind of broke it down from the outside to the muscles to the skeleton to the nerves, and I
Truly.
think that was actually really well done, boys.
I think so too. Yeah, and Averick, thank you for joining us here.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
You've got some music
Appreciate it.
on YouTube that some people can find.
I do.
Yeah,
Voice of Vices, look him up. VOV on game.
We'll link some of that.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll
But,
definitely
I
get back on
appreciate you coming into the loft. You know,
Yeah,
that. That was
Like,
great.
yeah.
I feel like it was a great subject. You know, if anyone listens to this all the way in, comment your favorite game. What's on a gameplay loop that you like?
Yeah, what's super addicting to
What's
you?
something that we missed?
What loop do you find yourself in at this moment?
Yeah. What game can you not get away from?
Are we in a loop? You know, life's gameplay loop is good enough for me.
Yeah.
This shit needs a patch update for real. Life 1.2,
Yes. Tirazoo needs to make it.
1.01.
1.01.
Do you think this is 1.0? I feel like we're still in the beta.
No.
Dinosaurs are the
We're
beta.
like
No.
eight, like
Dude,
like
Neanderthals were
0.93.
figuring it out. Yeah, we got out of the beta once we got the wheel, and then we've been stuck in the same patch since then.
Yeah.
Yeah, once we start to manipulate gravity, that's going to be our next stage.
Yeah.
Because don't you manipulate gravity, you can distort time because you're distorting travel. So then you can actually
And then
start...
you can cut travel.
traveling through time in space with wormholes?
Space.
Well,
Time.
actually...
Well, actually. But overall, thank you all for watching. This
Thank
has
you.
been The Loft.
The love.
Peace. And look out for the next episode.
Everyone take off.
All right, editor, edit me flying out into the cracks of the ceiling with a jetpack.
All right, jump.